Today we're going to be discussing something of supreme importance, I think, to everybody in the world, which is the new Whataburger barbecue bacon burger and my impressions of it this afternoon when I had one for the very first time. So for some context, for those of you who may be unfamiliar with today's source material, this hamburger is a recent addition to the Whataburger menu and is a limited time item as one of their more adventurous showcase burgers. Now, these burgers are in direct competition with some of the other more flavorful varieties of hamburger that they have, which is called the all-time favorites menu. Now, for some important context here, we should examine those hamburgers now. We have the Mushroom Swiss Burger, which is the newest addition to the team. The Sweet and Spicy Bacon Burger, which name you, by looking at it alone, it may make you realize there may be some problems here, but we'll get to those later. The Whataburger Patty Melt, and the Honey Barbecue Chicken Strip Sandwich, which in addition to being the longest name for a hamburger, is also not a hamburger. Now, when we look at this hamburger, we need to realize that in addition to it having to compete with everybody else on this menu, it has to compete with the rather controversial decision to remove one of the previous all-time favorites in favor of the Mushroom Swiss Burger, which is a conversation for a different chapter. However, it's important that it also, even though that hamburger is not currently available, you can't help but make some comparisons to it and judge it in that sort of limelight. So let's discuss the hamburger itself. Here is the most HD quality photograph I could find of the hamburger from Whataburger's website. And just very quickly we'll run down what's on it in case you've never seen one. It's got 2 of the big meat patties. It's got cheese of the cheddar and Monterey Jack variety, the bacon, hence the name, pickles, which is an important thing to note here, diced onion, and barbecue sauce. Now, we should start examining those right away and what's good and what's bad about those items. So first off, like many of the hamburgers that are available from this establishment, their size is quite superb. They hit the spot, very good size, very decent, very filling, so that's definitely going to go in the plus category. Bacon is an all-around very good topping, very good on every hamburger. Not much more to be said about that one. And the pickles, which does launch us into our first sort of a thematic element here with this hamburger as a whole and its place in society. You see, a hamburger with barbecue sauce is almost a novelty item, especially in today's day and age, because barbecue sauce is just kind of spicy ketchup. And especially here in Texas, you can get barbecue sauce basically out of every bathroom and rest stop, hand soap dispenser. So putting barbecue sauce on a hamburger isn't really that instrumental, wild, or crazy. What's important here with this hamburger, and one of its very strong points, is that, as you may have noticed in the previous slide, they have added pickles. Now, the flavor of a pickle, when combined with the barbecue flavor, is what sort of elevates a taste from BBQ as sort of a cheap gimmick flavor to actual barbecue taste. Now, this hamburger is not barbecue by any stretch of the means, but by adding those pickles, it shows an intent and a commitment to the whole thematic elements in the work. However, that's kind of the end of the good column, so we'll move on to some problems with this hamburger. First, right off the bat, the name is not the only thing. This hamburger is remarkably similar to the Sweet and Spicy Bacon Burger, or as we call it in the biz, the SNSBB. Now, the Sweet and Spicy Bacon Burger is effectively the exact same sandwich, but with sweet and spicy sauce instead of barbecue sauce, no pickles, and it has mustard. So right off the bat, there's, something right there it's already very similar to a hamburger they already have, that's already on their all-time favorites, and in my, sincere opinion, is much more interesting to eat. But again, we'll get to those in a second, which is right now. This barbecue sauce, especially here, you can get barbecue sauce on anything, anywhere, even just by asking for it. In some places, not even a bonus charge. So by basically making a Sweet and Spicy Bacon Burger with barbecue sauce on it and pickles, it's frankly just boring, and it's not a very exciting addition to the whole crew. You got rid of the Monterey Melt for this, and what we get is a barbecue sandwich. So kind of a letdown there, not gonna lie. And yes, I'm still mad about the Monterey Melt. They removed it. It was my favorite hamburger. I've eaten enough of those that I'm probably scientifically composed of a measurable percentage of Monterey Melt hamburgers, and now I get barbecue, and so I was disappointed. We'll move on now to the statistics, which are very important. So here's the enjoyment timeline, as those of you who are familiar with kind of the craft here and something very industry standard. We're going to look at how you enjoyed the hamburger during the 4 common phases of a meal: the pledge, the turn, the prestige, and 130 minutes after the meal. I've marked here for the newer members of the audience the good line. So everything above 50 tasty points, that's an active enjoyment of your food. You're having it's a tasty time. And everything below that is when you're actively having a bad time. This hamburger, it's not bad. So as you can see here, all the data points at every part of the important phases is well above that of 50 point, except for the turn, which we'll get into. So let's go chronologically, as time is wont to do, through these parts. So we've got the pledge here at the beginning. I'll just activate these for the lecture notes. So here at the beginning, at the pledge, is when you first unwrap the hamburger and begin the consumption process. And it is quite promising and it's quite tasty. This is when you kind of get the smell is an important part here, and we get the presentation. That kind of all encapsulates during the pledge part. And this hamburger, again, it's pretty tried and true. It already exists, and it's got barbecue sauce, which is a good smell, so it does pretty well. But as you can see here, we kind of have this downward trend here. This is what during the turn is where you get to the real, about halfway through your burger, and that's, I think, where the real meat and potatoes, if you will, come out. And so in the middle of the turn here is where you get the lowest point of the meal, and that's solely because, as I said, the hamburger is not that exciting. It doesn't have anything really too crazy. It's a barbecue hamburger again. And about this exact point is when I realized that I could have just ordered a sweet and spicy bacon burger, and that would have been a little more exciting. So that's definitely here. You get kind of a comparative problem. I'm sure in a vacuum, we could probably look at a candlestick going up here, but right now with the metrics we were getting during the turn, it's kind of low and getting close to like the I wish I had something else point. Anyways, moving on from that, we get to the prestige at the end of the hamburger consumption process, and it kind of it redeems itself. It is a tasty hamburger. Once you finish consuming it, you're no longer wanting for something else. It's done. It's over. You don't have to hear about it anymore. Okay, that's done. So it kind of redeems itself there, and it's good. And then about 130 minutes later, this is where you get some important stuff with some food items. For example, if you were to eat an entire custard, the 130-minute later part is going to be the lowest portion when you're violently ill. It's sat very well. It doesn't have anything too crazy. It doesn't have any weird spices or fish paste or something that'll make you feel upset or leave a gross taste in your mouth. So it kind of evens out and ends in a pretty decent position there. So moving on here, we can look at the actual rating for this hamburger, again using some industry standard terminology. So looking at the industry standard burger graph, we can kind of see where this hamburger, where it sits in relation to all this. We can see here the burger power itself. It's pretty mid-level. It is, again, like I said, it's a perfectly tasty, good hamburger, but nothing else. Same with the cost of the burger. Now, as you can imagine, this factors an important point into any hamburger because hamburgers aren't free; they don't grow on trees. So again, pretty mid-level for a standard hamburger in this area. So again, middle of the range there. When we talk about the range of a hamburger, we mean it's opportunities to kind of bring in new people. If it's kind of something crazy, outlandish, people aren't going to want to try it. So it would be score lower. Or if it's very accessible, easy, people attracts their attention, even if it may not be something that's so normal once you're eating it. The appearance, things like that. So again, for this one, it's very safe. It's got barbecue in the name. You can basically put barbecue on any sandwich and any sandwich title, and people will buy it. So for that reason, we've given it a pretty good score here, B. And then we move on to the staying power of the hamburger. You can see it's scored very low. And we mean by staying power, some circles is the replayability of the hamburger. It's very boring, and like I said before, you might as well just get something else. So it's really the only value here is if you, like myself, have had several of the sweet and spicy bacon burgers. Now that the other choice is gone, maybe you'll try it. But as far as going back next time, I'm probably not going to get it. So it scores down pretty low at an E for staying. The fillingness level is very good. We can give that an A. It's very filling, like I said, big 2 meats. So there's nothing wrong with that, and we can just move right along. The individuality of the hamburger, like I said, it was also very poor. Several times we can just jump right in with an E, and that kind of brings all the way back around the graph here. So, and we can kind of look at a breakdown here. So yeah, the key takeaway here was the flavor, which was just mediocre. The competitors really do this one in because there's better choices for the most part, and then the pickles are the only thing that really stands out. And so I think with that, you should be able to kind of understand this hamburger, and you should have everything that you need for the upcoming unit test about it. If you missed the lecture or want the lecture notes, this PowerPoint with the slide annotations, they will be available in the description. So if you need to study up, or if you missed the lecture, you can go ahead and check that there. And again, I recommend you do it before the unit test, just so that you're fresh for the exam. Any questions, you can email me, and I'll be happy to answer them about the upcoming test, or if you have any questions on the material. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.